Hey, hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Mike Ford, and I'd like to introduce you to Zach Von Bank. Zach is our Senior Sales Director at Simplicity Life, and he's going to share a sales idea with you that's been generating some very large life and annuity sales for our agents. And what you're going to be seeing is a very powerful, simple but powerful sales presentation using our new proprietary software from Insight. And so Zach will talk more about that. In the meantime, I'm going to let you take it over, Zach. And if you have questions, type them into the Q&A and we'll address them at the end. This shouldn't be a long workshop or webinar, so we'll be able to get to those. So, hey, Zach, it's all yours, my friend. Take it over.
All right, wonderful. Well, again, I appreciate the time this morning. As Mike mentioned, I'm on the life side here with Simplicity, and coming up on 10 years that I've been here since this coming April. And this is something that I will tell you internally we are extremely excited about. This is a platform that you, with your partnership with us, you can get access to. So before I forget, if you have not already, we do have a webinar coming up that is going to take a deeper dive into the platform as a whole. I'm going to show you just a small piece of it today, but on Tuesday, November 8th, we will be having our launch webinar. So that'll be 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central, 11 Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if you have not yet received that registration or registered, please be sure to reach out and ensure you're on that call. But now the meat of what we're going to talk about today, I mean, you can see protect and maximize your legacy. The concept as a whole that we're going to talk through, if any of you have been doing the maximizing social security workshops with us in the past, this is a tremendous concept to be able to go back to some of those existing clients and prospects that you've worked with in the past, or maybe you haven't gotten those appointments. All in all, this is something that you yourself, you're going to be able to create this presentation that I'm going to walk through. But before we walk through it, I wanted to set the stage as far as the why. Why is this concept becoming more and more prominent between advisors and their clients? And the reason, actually, I found this article here a couple weeks ago from Barron's. We're likely to see one of the greatest transfers of intergenerational wealth, as $68 trillion is set to reshape the economy, says the head of TIAA. You scroll down a little bit further, and I mean, it digs into that a little bit more with regards to over the next 5 years, likely to start seeing that transfer of wealth from baby boomers to the next generation, somewhere between $30 trillion and $68 trillion. So there's a big opportunity, because I'm fairly certain that most of those individuals, they worked extremely hard to build their assets. You have helped them when it comes to planning for their retirement, helping with their income, helping protect them from the cost of long-term care. And there are still some that have money sitting there that they have earmarked to go to the next generation. So the example that we're going to run through today, it's actually a case I worked on a few weeks ago. 60-year-old male and female, they had $300,000 sitting in a qualified account. They told the advisor that that money was going to their kids. So again, he was standard, she was preferred, but the only goal with that money was to leave it to the kids. So had this opportunity come up now, when this software becomes available on the 8th, this is something that you could actually walk through with your clients and prospects. So we're going to walk through this, again, client-approved presentation. How do you envision your legacy? And I'm not going to read through every slide, but your wealth can be a vital tool in supporting the success of the next generation. And the burden of taxes on that money is, I mean, quite frankly, it's unknown, right? Because we don't know what things are going to be like in 5 years, 5 months, 15 years. But what are you potentially missing out on? So again, when we look at this exact client, I'll give you a little bit of backstory in terms of what our assumptions are here. We had $300,000 sitting in that qualified account. We're assuming an annual return of 5%, but all of these are variable. So you can choose with your client what it is that you'd like to show. So if you have a client that's much more conservative, you could go with 4%. If you have a client that is extremely aggressive, you could put it up to 9. But for the sake of the conversation, we're going to leave the growth at 5. Management fees, same thing, you can change that. These are just defaults. And then the tax rates. So we have our tax rate for distributions and RMDs. So this is looking at our distributions from the qualified account to fund our life insurance. The annual tax rate applied to the growth in the side account. So as they take out those RMDs and put them elsewhere, what are we looking at in terms of a tax rate? And then the tax rate for the recipient of the qualified account. So if they do nothing, their current legacy is looking at $492,216. I see one here, maximize your screen. Let me see if this, hopefully this helps a little bit. I'll try to zoom in here to make it easier for you all. But now we jump ahead here. How can life insurance be used as part of your portfolio for the planning process? Going to give us that immediate access to a tax-free death benefit, but we're adding something new, right? They have $300,000 in a qualified account. We're going to add life insurance to that portfolio. So how can we do that without new money? And it really comes down to repositioning that existing asset. So we have $300,000 in this qualified account. I ran these numbers assuming a $10,000 a year planned premium for 10 years, which with that 35% tax rate means that we need $15,385 per year to net us the $10,000. Now, what are our options to get that? And again, I'm on the life insurance side. You're all probably significantly smarter than me when it comes to annuities. So I actually asked a counterpart to help me out with that, and I said, I need $15,385 per year for 10 years to take out and fund a life insurance contract. So what I received was an illustration for the F&G Flex Accumulator 10, which gives us with $153,850 going in, that $15,385. Now, again, not my area of expertise, but this is our guaranteed page. Doesn't matter what we're looking at, life insurance, annuities, guarantees aren't going to be extremely attractive. But when we get down a little bit further into current rates, you can see that there is still some pretty significant growth potential. But that's, again, where I would leave it to yourself and your annuity expert in the Glendale office to find the right fit when it comes to the annuity product. But we're here to be a team for you. We work in tandem to ensure that you're offering the best solution for your clients. But now that $10,000 a year for 10 years, what does that do for us? That buys a $490,000 death benefit. Within this platform, you always have the carrier illustration linked directly to it. And since we didn't start with the actual quoting of the illustration, I wanted to point something out to you all. Number one, illustrations are a nightmare. And this is 42 pages. This is a lot of words, right? I mean, this is a lot of stuff that, quite frankly, doesn't make sense to a lot of people. And it's taking me a long time to get to the page that I want to show you, because going back to the guarantees, what you're going to see is that our $10,000 per year for 10 years, our $100,000 on this survivorship IUL is getting us $490,000 guaranteed. So again, we're not focusing on the guarantees in this situation, but assuming zero return and maximum charges, this contract is carrying guaranteed to year 28, their age is 88. So even though we're not focused on guarantees, we are guaranteeing this contract past life expectancy. But you can also see, based on the non-guaranteed current, this contract is running out all the way to age 120. But what does that actually mean for your client? Number one, they had $300,000 that they had planned to leave to their beneficiaries. We're going to use a portion of that. We're not using all of it. We're going to use a portion. We're going to round it to the $155,000 for my Minnesota math, because that still leaves $145,000 that we didn't need to do anything with. That money is still theirs to do whatever it is that they want to do, while leaving $490,000 tax-free to their beneficiaries. But where things really come together is when you compare, here's what happens if we do nothing, and here's what happens if we add this into your plan. So if any of you have attended the advanced sales training and you think back to the pain of staying the same being greater than the pain of change, this is what helps to impact that and really demonstrate to the client how change can be advantageous. Because now at age 85, if they did nothing, based on those assumptions in the tax rates and that 5% growth, they'd be leaving $492,000 to their beneficiaries. Simply by repositioning a portion of their assets, they're now leaving over $770,000 to their beneficiaries, with $490,000 tax-free with the death benefit and $286,000 remaining in that qualified account. So we're helping to demonstrate to the clients how, again, just a simple repositioning of assets will enhance their legacy and ensure that that money that they've worked so hard for, that they want to leave to their kids, to their grandkids, to a charity, that we're able to maximize that. Because, again, all said and done, I mean, this is a strategy where, I mean, when we start out day one, $683,000 versus $202,000. As we get closer to life expectancy, yes, the qualified account, if we just let it sit, is going to get closer. If we jump this annual return up to 9%, again, just getting a little more aggressive, the qualified account surpasses life insurance between ages 87 and 88. But prior to that, even if they're averaging 9%, they're leaving a larger legacy. But I would wager to guess that most 60-year-olds aren't chasing a 9% return. So again, looking at that 5%, if the beneficiaries, I mean, who knows what things are going to be like in the future, but if the beneficiary's tax rate goes up to 50%, now under all of the same circumstances, if we jump back to what that looks like, 432 versus 742, in most circumstances, this is going to make a lot of sense for your clients when they have that money earmarked for the next generation. Now, continuing through, you can see we're just reiterating the fact that at age 85, we've transformed that $300,000 into a legacy of $742,000, $490 coming tax-free from life insurance, $252,000 remaining in that asset. You're able to adjust this, or if you changed it to age 90, now that $742,000 is up to $796. Now, choosing to protect and enhance your legacy, this is something that will have your contact information on it. This is a presentation that, again, you can share with your client. You can see we have the send. You can copy and paste this link. You can also download it as a PDF. It's going to take a little bit. It typically takes a few moments while we're on any kind of screen share. But the moral of the story and the reason that we're most excited about this is something that you will be able to do on the fly. And I'm always happy to help with illustrations, talk through concepts, talk through product. But if you're sitting down with a client and you've gone through their income plan, you've gotten everything figured out, and there's still money sitting there, and you say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I mean, what's your plan with that money? And they say, well, I'm planning on leaving that to Johnny and Susie. Great. I mean, I don't want to bombard you with too much, but if you have 2 minutes, and I'd love to show you how we could potentially help you transfer that to them more efficiently. Is that something you'd like to take a look at? And again, you're going to have the power to run the illustrations yourself. I'm going to be here for coaching through it. Make sure that you're comfortable with the products that are available so you know what it is that you're most comfortable presenting to your clients. But if you have a lunch meeting on a Saturday, and I try to be available as much as possible, but also like to check out on the weekends sometimes. So if you have that lunch meeting on a Saturday and you get into that, we're going to give you the power to do that on the fly. And rather than you having to jump into a beautiful 42-page, 50, 70-page carrier illustration, you're going to have the power to jump into this client-approved presentation that will ultimately help you have that conceptual conversation. Even if it doesn't close on the spot, again, I doubt they'll close on the spot, but you've had the conversation, you've planted that seed, you've done so conceptually, and in turn, when you look at the opportunities that are out there, if you have any clients that you've worked with on the annuity side or even the LTC side over the last 3, 4, 5 years, and you know they had additional assets that didn't make sense for you to do anything with at that time, great opportunity to go back to them to see what their plan is with regards to that money. Because again, if it's in qualified accounts and it's going to transfer to the next generation, I would guess that a lot of clients these days are now concerned about how taxes are going to impact that. So again, I know this was a lot and very quickly, but I want to reiterate that you'll get a full demonstration of the platform so that you're empowered to, number one, know how to run through it, but number two, be able to very easily go back to existing clients or prospects and see whether or not this would make sense for them. So my big ask of you would be over the next, I would say, week or two, see if you can think of 3 to 5 clients that this strategy might be a fit for. Get with your contact on the annuity side. If we're working together already, reach out to me. Be more than happy to kind of talk through positioning of it. But when you look at what this could mean for you, and potentially, again, looking at the 300,000, I think the target premium on the life insurance was 6 or 7,000. I don't know what commissions are on annuities, but I'm sure you know roughly what you'd get paid on a $150,000 annuity. And this can add $10,000 to $20,000 in revenue to your business simply by bringing up a new concept to position with your clients. So again, I appreciate the time being able to speak with you all this morning. And Mike, I'll kind of kick it back to you, and be sure to throw in any questions at all that you have. We have plenty of time to touch on those.
Thanks, Zach. We do have a question here from Mahala. She wants to know a few ideas of companies that you've been using for this concept. So you might talk to her a little bit about how many companies we have and how you can run them all with that software at the click of a button.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, great question. Depending upon individual or survivorship, John Hancock on the survivorship contracts lately has been far and away, I mean, one of the best options. And you throw in Lincoln there as well. They have a very competitive survivorship product. But on the individual side, and you have Protective, North American, Lincoln, Global Atlantic. In terms of the options that you have to be able to run in that software, and you'll see on Tuesday, but I want to say on the individual side, you have the ability to run 20 or so different carriers all at one time to be able to compare the options. Now, I will say that you're not going to want to run all 20 at the same time. It will take a little bit, but I'm always happy to do one-on-one calls to talk through the various products, the pros, the cons, things to consider to help you narrow down who you're most comfortable with, because in a lot of circumstances, we tend to see 2 to 4 of those carriers being the most competitive, depending upon what we're looking for in terms of product specifications.
So Zach, this was a great sales concept that I think crosses several disciplines. And that's very exciting, especially for the folks that are kind of focused on annuities. But there are a number of different concepts that this software will allow someone to develop this type of presentation for, correct?
Correct. Sorry, I got the very last part. Could you repeat that one more time? My headset was cutting out there.
So there are other modules that are part of this software, not just this particular concept. Can you share that a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So within the Insight platform, and this is something that will make a lot of sense when you see it, but the way that we built this out, we wanted to encompass a lot of the permanent life insurance sales you may come across. And quite frankly, those fall into typically 3 different categories: protection, accumulation, and income. And so protection, we're obviously looking at maximizing death benefit or getting a death benefit for the lowest cost. For accumulation, and this is a concept that I'm seeing more and more traction with when it comes to cash value life insurance, is the idea that life insurance can be an asset, and the idea that it's another option for people to put money towards, to have the cash value grow, tax deferred with the upside potential and no downside risk, and the ability to access it tax free, all the while leaving that tax free death benefit. So we're going to be looking at a max funded policy there with no distributions. And then the last one is the income side, looking at max funded life insurance showing distributions. And both of those other two, accumulation and income, are going to come along with a very similar sales story that we ran through today, client-approved presentation. But right now it's going to be looking at life insurance versus a non-qualified account. And we are hoping to add qualified in the future, but just a quick side note to that, and the reason that we're starting with non-qualified. Oftentimes we see these cash value life insurance policies being funded with that discretionary income that's sitting in the client's checking account. And what are their options? And it's life insurance or a non-qualified account. So that's why we started there. But again, this is all something that you can get access to with your partnership with us.
So Zach, appreciate that. Noel says, has a question about the product solution, again, was IUL. And just so everybody understands, there are two vehicles in this particular sales concept. So we're using a fixed index annuity to generate the after-tax dollars to fund the life insurance contract, which was, I believe, an IUL. Is that correct, Zach?
Correct. Yep. And this one, it was the survivorship IUL with John Hancock.
Good. Very good. So Noel, there were two products. The annuity with F&G was part of the concept, funding the IUL on a 10-pay with a guaranteed death benefit type solve. Richard asks, when is the full presentation of the Insight software? Richard, that's going to be next Tuesday. You may have already received an invite, but we're going to make sure that all of you receive an invite to register for that presentation. It'll be the introduction and release of this software. And just so you know, this is proprietary to Symplicity. We have, Zach, you can jump in here, but I know that there's a couple other platforms that kind of do this, but it's it's much more laborious to create these presentations. And also the two that I'm aware of, you're going to spend between $1,000 to $4,000 to have access to the software. Your cost for having our software is just doing business with us. So bottom line is this is going to be available to you if you like working with Symplicity. So you'll get that invite. You can call us if you have any other questions. The number's there on your screen. Are there any other, Michael, do you see any other questions there that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, Maria asked, I don't know, Zach, if you can see that regarding the illustration, how did you come up with the 158,000 10-year premium out of 300,000 in assets?
Yeah, great question. So in this scenario, I mean, it was really one of those situations where we didn't want to use all of it. So we wanted to initially see, I mean, the approach that we took was client had 300,000, and what would $10,000 of that per year for 10 years, what would that buy us in life insurance? And that came out to that 490,000. And in the software, you can see based on that assumed tax rate of 35%, what we needed to take out each year was that $15,385. So that's where then, I would reach out to somebody in the Glendale office and say, hey, here's what we're working with. I need to be able to net 10,000. Again, the 35% is just an arbitrary number. That's something you'd want to discuss with the client or the tax advisor in terms of what would be expected in terms of taxes. But I said, I need $15,385 each year. Can you put together an annuity that'll do that for me? That's where then that 158,000 came in, and ultimately came from the annuity to fund the life insurance policy.
And Zach, just to elaborate a little bit, Maria, that would have required an FIA that would allow us to take a 10% penalty-free withdrawal each year of the original deposit. And we have several products that we can do that with, but this particular product was one that came up and performed well. And by using the annuity to fund it rather than just withdrawing the money from the qualified account, that annuity, we funded that into this program over that 10 years. And on a current basis, there was still like $130,000 left in the annuity after withdrawing those funds over that 10-year period. So that maximized that opportunity, as well as leveraging the death benefit to the heirs. Well, I don't see any other questions. Zach, thank you so much. We're really excited about this platform, folks. Be sure and look for that email that'll go out probably tomorrow or at the very latest Thursday with the registration information for the workshop next Tuesday, where you'll get the full preview of the Insight software platform and learn how to get your copy of it. So, Zach, any other comments before we wrap it up?
No, nothing from my end. Again, I appreciate the time, and if you do identify any prospects in your book, in prospect list that this might be a fit for, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Again, we'll be here, happy to help talk through the opportunity and see what we can do to help you close out 2022 with a very strong finish.
All right, and just an FYI, I was doing a quick calculation because I didn't know what the target premium was on that life case. But once you said it was probably, I think you said it was $7,000 or $8,000. So basically, the commission on that case would have been easily over somewhere in between $20,000 and $25,000 between the annuity and the life policy. So not a bad day's work for helping your client dramatically increase the amount of benefits to their heirs. So, hey, thanks everybody for your time today. Really appreciate it. And hope to see you on next Tuesday when we introduce the full platform on the software. Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.